Yes, what's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to tonight's live stream. And with Chelsea now with new owners with Todd Boehly in place, a transfer window getting closer to opening. Rumours are starting to heat up, incomings, outgoings, all sorts going on. But one thing that is always guaranteed to have some sort of news is Romelu Lukaku. Club record signing last summer, started reasonably well. Interview didn't go down well. And now it's come out in the last day or so that he doesn't want to be at the club anymore, trying to arrange a move back to Inter Milan, maybe on loan potentially. So to talk through all this, plus a few other updates as well, is Pice. Pice, great to have you as always, mate. I'm looking forward to this one. Lukaku, we thought he might get another chance. It might be quiet. Other areas of the squad needs reinvesting in big time. And we thought maybe with a club record signing, he'd stay one more year, maybe address it next summer. It looks like he's firmly on his way out. He wants to leave.
Yeah, good to be back on, bro. I think it's going to be an interesting one this summer. Obviously, it's already started in terms of the rumours. Supposedly only wants to go back to Inter Milan, which is very interesting. Obviously, loved it there. Saw it as very, very likely sort of scenario to come up and kind of bubble over all this summer. I think this is going to happen. I really, really do. I think Chelsea are going to want a big loan fee because that's the talk at the moment. But interestingly, I mean, Inter Milan, they seem to want to secure Dybala first. So Lukaku's not even their priority. But it seems like, if you saw that Telegraph article, that Lukaku really wants to force this. And, if he doesn't get his way, I'm telling you, this guy's like a big baby sometimes. So, it might not go down well if he can't get his move. But who knows? We'll see. Lukaku's come out and denied, media reports before and said, he's concentrated on Chelsea, stuff like that. But even when he did that a few months ago, he always said until the end of the season. Well, the end of the season's happened, and now it's like, what are you going to do? Because, clearly, I've always said it's a dead end here, really. I think Lukaku doesn't suit our style of play. Tuchel would have to kind of change it completely for one person. Some might argue, well, he should do for £100 million signing, but at the end of the day, wasn't Lukaku the one that when he signed was like, I can do this, I can play my back to goal, I can, run in behind, I can play how the team needs me to play. Well, we needed you to play a bit different way than what you did under Antonio Conte, and you haven't done it very well. So, yeah, I think that's, yeah. You got it there.
This is it, I was going to bring it up, but you mentioned it already. I mean, I think this is part of the problem for me. Like, I don't think everyone's blameless in the Lukaku situation. I think there's responsibility on Lukaku, there's responsibility on Tuchel as well, and there's responsibility on the board, whoever kind of okayed the signing, etc. But what's really annoying is that when he says this at the start, when he joins, if he wants me to be a focal point or if he wants me to attack the spaces in behind, I can do it. 2 years necessarily helped me master all the facets of the game for a striker, and now I'm ready. And yet we haven't seen any of that at all. Me and you have both defended Lukaku. I know, like, Lawrence and that has not been that keen on him. I've kind of, I've stuck by him and defended him as much as I can. But I think, like myself and a lot of Chelsea fans, are going to have to take a big L on this one. And it looks like it just hasn't worked out at all. I mean, when you see him say things like that at the start, Pice, like, you're all excited for it. It started really well. I mean, how has this gone so wrong?
I mean, to be honest, I think the interview I think a lot of people said it back then, this is the end. And I was like, that's a bit dramatic. But I feel like ever since then, he's not fully recovered from that in terms of like the fallout. He had, I think, even games after the interview, he got dropped, right? And then he came back in. And everyone was like, well, before the interview, he was banging in goals. I think he start like 7 or 8 straight games where he didn't score. So yeah, obviously it was not working out. Yes, he does make movement, but a lot of the times he's kind of just the static focal point up front that we kind of play him like Giroud. And, there's been rumblings of him saying behind the scenes, well, Antonio Conte, I played with much more freedom. But I don't know, man. I think it's confusing in some way because I thought he would be, like just a guaranteed goal scorer. Like he wouldn't even have to do much, just stay in the box and, the chances will come to you. But it seems like he's actually more of a, we need him to be more of a team player than perhaps he might have wanted to be. So I mean, even a lot of his goals that he scored under Chelsea have been, transitions, half chances. Even think back to the game where he scored 2 before the end of the season. Who was that
The
against?
Wolves one.
Was it Wolves? Yeah.
Yeah, penalty and then a nice one outside the
You
box.
see, but even that outside the box one, it was on the turn. He had space. He just hit it first time. Those are the sort of goals Lukaku scores. You won't see him, score like Drogba type goals where he'll have his back to goal. He'll outmuscle 2 or 3 defenders, bang one in. We was expecting all that because he can do it, but we just won't see it for Chelsea, I don't think. We haven't seen it for Chelsea either. So it's worrying. And yeah, I mean, it looks like he wants to go. Whether that happens or not, completely different discussion because I think, as much as we can say, well, new owners in, it's not Roman Abramovich's investment. Chelsea still bought him at the end of the day, so they're not going to want to just, give him up after a season and just, let him go. It's got to be working for both parties here. Lukaku, Inter Milan, Chelsea. So, yeah, it's
I
difficult.
mean, he obviously wants to leave. That's clear. But Inter have made it clear that they couldn't afford him on a permanent deal. Obviously, he needs to speak to Chelsea, still speak to the new owners, see what the situation is there. But I think it's clear that he doesn't want to be at the club anymore. Inter can't afford him on a permanent deal. That's fair enough. We're not going to recoup as much of the money as we would like to. The big loan fee as well, which you mentioned earlier, I'll just kind of bring it up on screen now. So supposedly a 20 million loan fee with an option to buy, which covers the remaining fee they bought him for. So you'd be thinking, 20 million loan fee, then thinking, 75 million pounds option to buy. I don't even think Inter Milan could afford that anyway. Do you know what I mean? Even if they paid a 20 million loan deal, are they really in a financial position to afford 75 million pounds on Lukaku? I'm not sure. I mean, it's going to depend a lot from Chelsea. Chelsea might have to lower those demands. Do you think there's negotiation to get a deal done? I mean, because I don't think Inter will agree on a 20 million loan fee with an option to buy for the remaining money, do you?
No, they definitely won't. They have to sell players this window to even afford certain sort of other signings, and I think just to cover, I think it's more losses because I think what they did with the money we bought Lukaku for was just cover debt. I think they were in debt, and that was like a big thing for them to sell Lukaku. So again, it's like it's one of those ones where you've also got to convince. Like I know Inter having Zaghi and Lukaku was looking forward to working with him, but if you're Chelsea, like you're not in a strong position really because you've got to convince Inter and Lukaku's got to convince Inter to say, look, like getting back sort of thing because Inter are going to go, well, what's gone wrong here then? So I know they understand that transfers don't work out, but still, like it's not. I don't know. It just feels like a bit unrealistic for him to go back straight away after one season at Chelsea. Maybe at the end of next season, but then again, I'm trapped in that mindset of is he going to do more damage than good if he stays in next season? Like I think so personally. Like Tuchel doesn't trust him. He just doesn't work in our system. He doesn't suit us. Maybe under another manager he would, but obviously Tuchel's going nowhere, so it's irrelevant. We can't even have that discussion. So yeah, I'm really intrigued to see what happens. Day by day, week by week, because someone's got a budget. Someone's got to make something happen, whether it be Chelsea or Inter side. Lukaku can only do so much. So he can tell Chelsea, I want to go back as much as he wants, but Chelsea aren't gonna. Chelsea are gonna get what's right for them, and if they are demanding this big loan fee, which I did expect, then Inter can't afford that right now, and he's not even their priority. So the only other thing I would say is like maybe watch out for other clubs, but even then, rumors are he only wants to go back to Inter Milan.
Yeah.
So it's a messed up situation. Like it really is. And I said this a couple of weeks ago. I knew this was going to happen. I think this will be the big thing of the summer. Honestly, people don't want it to be, but in terms of like outgoings, Chelsea are going to be. I feel like they'll be negotiating this for a while.
Yeah, this one, I think this is going to be one that's not going to be done early doors. This will go kind of well into the window. And it's so annoying because I've come on my channel, I said it on other channels as well. Like honestly, I thought Lukaku was going to win the Golden Boot this season. Said it at the start of the season. Genuinely thought, had 2 great years in Italy. He looked a more rounded player than he was when he was at Man United, and it just hasn't worked out. I mean, I know hindsight's a great thing on that, mate, but do you actually think he ever wanted to come back? I'm not sure. I look at it now and I think I don't know if he actually did want to leave because he said, "Oh, I only want to leave if it's Chelsea." Inter had to sell a lot of players. They sold Hakimi for big money. They lost Conte, which is obviously a lot of wages off their bill, and obviously they got rid of Lukaku as well. He didn't want to leave. Really? Do you think that's the case as well? Do you think he actually even wanted to come back in the first place?
I mean, I would say yes and no. I'm pretty sure in his interview as well, he said Inter, had to sell me. I didn't want to leave and all that sort of stuff. But I do obviously think there is some sort of aspect of like he would, he was motivated to come back at the end of the day because like he
Hmm.
was happy when he joined. He was giving a speech. I remember that open training session Chelsea had. Gave a great speech. He looked really happy. So I do think he wanted to come back, but I don't really. I don't think it was like he was desperate to come back. I just think he was like, oh, unfinished business at Chelsea. I've got a chance. Maybe I should go and do it. It wasn't like, oh my God, Chelsea are calling. I have to leave. I don't think it was like that. I think it was probably what I just said before. So yeah, again, it's a difficult one to judge. It really is. The whole sort of Lukaku saga ever since he's joined up until perhaps he's going to leave has just been full of question marks, uncertainty, what ifs. it's
Mate,
it's
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 ridiculous.
cursed, isn't it? Like it really is. I mean, I just don't know what to think anymore. The mountain maybe we should just retire the number 9 shirt because whoever seems to put it on just seems to flop the whole time. I mean, I really didn't expect this to not work out. I mean, lastly on Lukaku, kind of before we move on a little bit, do you think if he leaves, mate, it's going to be a loan. We're not going to get a permanent transfer. Do you think it's literally this Inter Milan loan or he stays?
At the moment, yes, I think so. I keep thinking maybe there's something with Bayern Munich, but I don't know. I think I read that the one of the bosses isn't quite sure on Lukaku, so
Hmm.
I don't know. Like, can I see him playing for Bayern? Not really. I mean, stranger
Well,
things have happened. Like, I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one. People saying PSG, but I don't think they're going to come for him. Like, I think you would have heard. Obviously, it's early on in the window. It's not even
yeah.
opened yet. But you start hearing rumblings of who teams are interested in. Maybe like an opportunity comes up to another club and he decides to go. But it's going to be a hard one to work out because, as I said, like, it's completely messed up. If Tuchel thing is though, like I'm also like I don't know what Tuchel really thinks because in the media he was going, towards the end of the season, Lukaku's still very important. He was
Hmm.
talking about next season, he's in our plans. Is that just media work? Is that true? Like again, I think this is a lot of things that, Tuchel and Chelsea are gonna have to work out in these meetings that have been supposedly been planned for this week. So yeah.
Thing is though, like even when he was scoring, even when he scored against Wolves and he scored the one against Leeds, like he actually looked happy. He was celebrating. There was a smile on his face. I was in a Matthew Arden when he scored the 2 goals against Wolves. Chanting his name. He was bigging the crowd up and that. And I don't know. It now seems to have gone. All seems to have gone a bit flat again. I mean, who ultimately, like, he's going to go? It's not worked out. Who do you think takes responsibility for this? Do you think it's a collective responsibility in terms of kind of like scouting department maybe not doing their due diligence in terms of properly researching how it's going to fit into the system? Maybe Tuchel a little bit for. I know it's not. He's not going to say necessarily no to £100 million striker, but who do you think's at fault for this? Do you think it's just a collective of everyone?
Yeah, pretty much how you've just explained it. I do think Tuchel's at fault a little bit because it is true that he did not push for the Lukaku signing, but he was on board for it. At the same time, though, I always when people say that to me, I'm like, well, if you're new in at Chelsea and you want, Chelsea offer you £100 million striker, Lukaku, he's been bang on form in Serie A. He looks in the prime of his career. Are you really just going to go, oh no, it's fine, I'll stick with Havertz? And maybe on hindsight he should have done, but I just think that's very unlikely to, uh, you know, expect Tuchel to do that. Maybe now he's got into Chelsea a bit more. He's had a full season in the Premier League. He knows his squad fully. Who has the connections together? Who doesn't? Maybe now he gets more of a say in terms of like I don't know. Maybe like how am I trying to explain it? Maybe he takes authority a bit more. You know what I mean? Because I even think like with the Saul loan deal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
rumors. Collectively they decided against Tchouaméni. Well, for me, I just
That's
see I just see Tuchel as the kind of guy last season in terms of last summer to sort of agree with whatever the board and Marina put
mm,
towards him instead of him putting names towards them. In my opinion, obviously, I don't know the inside details. That's how I would see it. I don't think he wants to fall out with board members again. I think he was kind of willing to go with the flow. So yeah, perhaps going forward that changes. Now we've got new ownership, and potentially Marina's not staying long term.
mm,
So it's going to be interesting to see how many of these signings that come in this window are truly his, are truly verified and actually wanted by him instead of just going with the flow and whoever the board can get kind of thing. Because Lukaku wasn't his first choice. I think he made it pretty clear Haaland was.
yeah,
Even in press conferences, he was talking about Haaland. And that sort of debate of a style of play can be happen. Again, we will never know because we didn't sign him. I think he loves Lewandowski. That's been coming out again. Absolutely loves Lewandowski. Again,
yeah.
another one he was talking about. Chelsea tried to get Harry Kane. Have been trying to get him for years, but that was never going to happen. So look, Lukaku was way down the list if you think about it in strikers that
Yeah, he
Chelsea
was.
actually wanted to get. So yeah, I think it's a collective issue. Tuchel, Lukaku could have done so much more. Like he could have been
Yeah,
much fitter. He could have tried much harder. Trust me, there's been games I've been to where I'm just like, this guy's not even trying. Like he doesn't care.
yeah,
Like seriously, it comes across really bad vibes, and then but he kind of like tricks you because whenever he scores, he goes absolutely crazy, and
yeah.
you kind of get sucked in with all the chants, and you're like, yeah, he's back, but it's just really not. Like he's never. I've always said this. Streams and whatnot after games where he played bad and everyone's slating him, and I'm just like, yeah, that's cool for you to do that. And it actually annoys me more because I've seen the old Lukaku at Everton, even at Man United. Right, he was bad at Man United, but he still
Still
scored.
scored goals.
He
Yeah,
scored 12 in his first season, 16 in his second season in the Premier League alone. So, yeah, what did he get here? 6 or 7? I mean, it's awful. So, maybe perhaps going back to the point we made earlier, perhaps he wasn't truly motivated to come back. Perhaps it wasn't. For me, I look back on it as well and I kind of think, was it more to kind of make a point to the Premier League because he got, abused and stuff? He got doubted, but then it can't be that because he just hasn't, if it wasn't even for the love for Chelsea, you've not even proven your point in terms of, like writing your critics off from your Man United time. So
mm,
I don't know, man. I think the interview just destroyed everything, to be
yeah,
honest with you. Because I think after you did that, whether or not Chelsea fans still sung his name towards the end of the season, but still, like that being, I still don't think he came to he did the apology video, right?
yeah.
Still don't think that was off his back. I still probably think the club said to him, this would be a wise thing to do, kind of thing. Obviously, again, don't know the facts to that, but seems that way. He was even almost smiling in that sorry interview, and I remember people reacting like, "This guy's just an idiot. He doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, he
Yeah,
wasn't serious at all. Like, I don't know what's got into him. Like, he's weird, man. He's really weird.
I mean, it has been a complete disaster, and he most likely is going to leave. I think it's probably got to the point now where it's best for all parties in concern that he does move on, whether that's on loan, whether that's permanently or whatever it is. But Pius, looking to the future, then obviously, as we both know, Chelsea have got a lot of reinvesting to do in the squad, particularly defensively. A holding midfield player is essential. Kind of the attacking positions weren't really a priority this summer as such. Very much was going to be a kind of a one in, one out policy if there was going to be any, movement in that area. Lukaku moves on. What did Chelsea do? Because do we go with another centre forward or do we try and go down the route of a Man City and a Liverpool where we don't necessarily have someone that scores all the goals? We maybe have, 3 players that are interchangeable across that front line and can all kind of chip in 10, 15, 12 goals or whatever each. I've seen people say that, but I'm thinking we haven't got the forward players that can contribute 10, 12 goals in the league between the 3 of them. We're lucky to have one. So, I mean, what route do you think Chelsea would look to go down? Because it's a tricky thing to solve because, as you say, there's not very many. If we're going down the number 9 route, there's not very many top class centre forwards available. Yes, Lewandowski, but he very much wants Barca. Sorry, it seems on that. Where would you go? Because you hear the likes of Christopher and Kunku. that sort of player, not really a centre forward. I mean, what do you think Chelsea will do?
I think this will come down a lot to Tuchel and what he wants. I mean, if Lukaku goes, then like the thing is, people will like Havertz and Broja, but I think Broja
Oh,
might be
no
sold.
chance. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not getting us closer to Liverpool or City. But then again, I mean, we did this last season. Does signing another striker get us closer to Liverpool and City? We all thought so, and it didn't. So I don't
Mm.
know whether the club take a different route in terms of maybe they, obviously Ousmane Dembele has been rumored, but he's obviously more of a creator. So maybe they do go that kind of route where they look to maybe bring in a Dembele. They maybe look to bring in another forward, kind of just pack the forward line out with players that can contribute, 8, 10, 12 goals, hopefully. But again, like the system we play for me won't allow that anyway. Like I don't think we can have multiple high goal scorers. I don't think it's the system to do that. And I don't think some of these forwards are good enough to get those contributions as well, to be honest with you. There's a lack of finishes. There's a lack of real dynamism. That spark in the attack. It's very bland. A lot of our goals will come off, crosses or set pieces or counter attacks even at times. So I don't know. It's a very very hard one. I'm kind of at the point of giving up with the attack, to be honest with you, and honestly suggesting things and just letting Tuchel work it out, because at the end of the day, that's what he's employed to do. And whatever route the club takes, just go with it, even if you don't agree with it. Because is there even something you can, fully put your hand on heart and say, yeah, that's going to be amazing now. We should do that. We should do this. I don't think so. I think it's all a matter of, opinions and kind of hope at this point, because we've tried everything. We tried Havertz at false nine. It worked good last season, not
Mate,
last season, but
it's good for 3 weeks and
it,
then
it
it was
was
shit.
good. It was good. Like I'm talking about, like when Tuchel first joined, right, and we
Yeah.
didn't have that striker. That was good. Like we played good football. We created a lot of chances, and what was our response? It was okay. Now we need to get that number 9 that can finish off those chances. We bought a number 9 who was in his prime, who can hold up play, can finish, and stuff like that. He has the attributes, even if he didn't show them. He has the attributes on paper. And now we're like, well, that's ruined our system. We need we need more flair players. So, like, how do we fix this? You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird one. I kind of hoping it kind of happens to City. They bought Haaland, right? But
Yeah.
for them, I just think they've got too many creators where that team's so stacked anyway. So I don't know. It's a difficult one. It's really, really difficult to answer.
Yeah, it certainly is tough. I mean, look at some of the names we've been linked with. I mean, obviously, we've still got Brozier at the club. Havertz is there. For me, I mean, you look at him. I mean, I think Havertz was top of the charts for number of big chances missed this season. I think he had 12 or 13. What gets classified as a big chance missed. Is Havertz a number 9? I don't really know. This is the problem for me. Like, I like Kai Havertz. He's been here 2 years now. What is he? Because he's not a wide player. He's not really a 10. And for me, the greatest of respect to Havertz, we're not going to win a Premier League with Kai Havertz playing as centre forward. He's not a 15, 20 goals a season in the league player. So I don't really know. I don't know what he is. So I wouldn't be confident going into next season with like Kai Havertz as kind of the main centre forward. Something needs to give. I mean, on the players we've been linked with, there's a lot of guys in the chat talking about Ousmane Dembele. Obviously, nothing's official yet. He's out of contract. The last 6 months was very much seeming like he would stay at Barcelona, but it looks like now that Chelsea might be front of the queue to sign him on a free transfer. He's got bags of ability, not got the best injury record. Did get the most assists in La Liga last season, despite having not played an awful lot of minutes. Pice, this is an interesting one, isn't it? Because he's exciting, but then again, he's one of those that is not necessarily renowned for scoring goals, more for creating them. So it doesn't necessarily solve our finishing issues. But then that injury record as well is not great. But there's something that just excites me and draws me to this deal. And I think it's one that on a free, and there's a talent and his age still, that there's resale value there as well. It's worth a punt.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's a fantastic player when he's fit, no doubt about that. Like, He's very, very exciting. He's one of the best dribblers in the world.
Mm.
I think he's great on the ball, and the best thing about Dembele is he can shoot with either foot. That in world football is very, very rare. And I'm not talking about just shooting. I'm talking about like he can hit them really well with either foot. So it makes you so unpredictable. Like you can go down the right, you can cut in on your left. You know, like it's very, very unpredictable. Not many players have that. So you know, people I mentioned this the other day. Like Ziyech, I think he's good with his left foot, but he only uses his left foot. Dembele uses both. He will run
Mm.
with both feet. Like you know what I mean? He's so unpredictable. So yeah, I would love that transfer. I really, really would. He's still young. And you know, it looks like Barca can't afford anything at the moment. Whether or not that financial situation gets sorted out, I mean, I know you know a lot of the top Barca sources are saying that his priority is to stay, but you know he's gonna. It's kind of like the Rudiger one, right? You know, if
Yeah.
Chelsea couldn't do anything and they tried, Barca try, and in the end he's leaving. So perhaps same with Dembele. Perhaps they can't. Or even if they did find a way to offer him a ridiculous amount, I'm sure they've offered him quite a lot already. But you know, even if they come back with something else, maybe it's like, nah, I can get more elsewhere. So at that point, it's like, how much are Chelsea willing to pay? How much are PSG willing to pay? The PSG, like, are those rumors about Campos not, you know, wanting him? Are they going to be coming true? Or you know, because if you realistically look at it, Chelsea, PSG for me are his most likely destinations. I don't see anywhere else. I think Bayern Munich, if they got rid of Gnabry, 100% they could go for him. But again, Bayern don't like paying huge wages. So
Mm.
I was thinking the other day maybe Liverpool if Mane leaves, but I don't know that would scare the crap out of me to be honest if that happened. But so I hope that one doesn't happen. But yeah, I think Chelsea they've got time here. But if they want Dembele, you know, they need to do it. But again, one more thing I want to mention is what have we been told so far from everyone who's actually reliable? Well, Chelsea need to sell an attacker to get
Yeah.
one in. So are Chelsea really making these moves behind the scenes for Dembele, or are they, you know, is Marina just sipping her coffee in her office? In reality, like we'll find out. Do Chelsea have a move lined up for say a Ziyech, which then is allowing these negotiations to go on for Dembele? Who knows? Nothing's really been put out there at the moment. We're waiting, and hopefully it will
I
pick
mean,
up soon.
on Dembele, if he were to come in, where do you think he fits in the forward line were he to arrive? Because I know, like, you know, Havertz is probably going to play, Mount's going to play. I mean, where do you think he fits in? You know, obviously he's both footed, so he could play left or right side. Do you think would he work in a three at the back? You know, with the kind of the narrow wide players, or do you think we need to go four at the back and he plays as an out and out winger?
Yeah, I think he'd definitely work best in a four, really wide. You know, constantly running and taking on at players. I think that goes for most of our wingers, to be honest. But if he does play in the three at the back, I can probably see him playing on the right with that dynamic with Reece James, and then probably Mount will go over to the left hand side. I would say. I think Mount actually prefers playing there as well. That's if we stick to the three at the back. But again, a lot of discussions to be had. I mean, Tuchel did say obviously there's no plans to change the formation, but he might be forced to change it depending on the squad.
Mm,
I thought that was a bit of a weird use of language, like forced. Like, why would you be forced to do anything?
mm.
Is that kind of like forced to change your formations? Kind of like when a manager says, "Oh, I didn't really want this player, but he's better in a four, so I'm forced to change it now." Like, you know what I mean? I thought that maybe he
Yeah.
didn't mean it like that. I don't know. When he said that, I thought that's a weird saying. You're going to be forced to change the formation. You don't want to. You might be forced to change it. That was weird for me. So yeah, but I think Dembele in general would be better in a four at the back for sure, definitely.
Yeah, no, I would agree on that front, for sure. I'd like to see Dembele as an out and out winger. I think he's more suited to that rather than the three at the back. Obviously, you know, I'm sure he'd still be decent with a three at the back, but a four, I agree with you, would definitely suit him better. I mean, in terms of other forward players he's been linked with, you know, one that's divided opinion, Raheem Sterling. I mean, I think I don't know how many years he's got left on a City contract. I don't think there's that many. He's done well at City. I think this season for me, he's tailed off a little bit. He's a guy again that's got a very good record, but he misses a phenomenal amount of chances. We don't create anywhere near as many chances as City do. Do we need someone else that misses big chances and lots of them? I mean, where do you stand on the Sterling interest? I mean, Is it a player? Is it a deal that you think Chelsea should be looking at if it can be done?
Potentially, yeah. I do rate Sterling very highly. I thought, maybe sometimes he's a tad bit greedy, but that the dribbling again, the chaos and the havoc that he does cause to defenses is, I wouldn't want Sterling running at me. There's a lot of defenders that won't want that happening. Again, he's one of those guys that makes movement for himself and can make stuff happen against a deep block for sure. I think he's a combination based player as well. So whether or not, we've had this debate all season, really, how many good combinations in this team between players really is there? There's
Yeah,
not.
it's like none.
We've been struggling in that department. So in terms of just overall team chemistry in the forward line, really, from the midfield to the attack, and even from the defence to midfield at times. So yeah, it's a player that I would like for sure. Do I see it as realistic? Not really. I don't think he would. I don't know. I think I've read a report which said he wasn't keen on going back to London or something a couple of years ago if he ever moved clubs. So I think for Sterling, he's played here so long that if you're him, why would you go to another English club? I feel like you might want to have a challenge abroad somewhere like that. I think Real Madrid interested as well. So yeah, it's something to keep an eye on, but I see that as less likely than Dembele, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, interesting questionnaire from a Spacecraft 58. Would you guys take Pulisic and Ziyech leaving if it meant that Dembele and Sterling came in to replace them? I mean, Pies,
Yeah,
would you take that?
definitely, 100%.
I
Two
think that's
upgrades, two upgrades for me.
yeah. So I think to be fair, I think I'd probably take that as well. I think that is, I'd take that, but I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, in the context of that question, I'd definitely take that. In terms of other players, mate, we've kind of been linked with again the likes of Darwin Núñez potentially as well. I mean, he's more of a centre forward than a wide player. Young, he's only really had one decent season at Benfica, and that was last season. A lot of money, I think 75 million euros. Um, I mean, this is another tricky one, isn't it, Price? He's not really that proven. It's a lot of money. I mean, is that the right profile for Chelsea? I don't know an awful lot about him, but I just don't know if that really makes any sense.
Yeah, this is one that I want to avoid. Um, I can see this guy being a massive flop, honestly. He has potential in terms of I mean, his natural finishing ability is really good. But again, I feel like if he comes to Chelsea, that's just going to immediately somehow disappear. He's offside so many times. He gives me Werner vibes as well. People saying he's a striker, right? He's not. He plays off the left. If you watch Benfica, he plays off the left. He's not a striker. So I don't know why people are saying he's a Lukaku replacement. He literally plays off the left. So yeah, it's a weird one for me. I don't want that to happen. I mean, again, look at his goals this season. He got like 30 goals, and then the season before he got six.
Yeah.
6 goals. Like, as soon as you see that, no, 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 no. Stay well clear. I don't want him signing for Chelsea, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I think for the amount of money that would be a mistake, and it could definitely be better invested in other areas. Just last one on the forward players, so we just kind of talk about midfield and defence. Christopher Nkunku, Tuchel, a known admirer, obviously former PSG player, has had a fantastic season at RB Leipzig. I'm always sceptical when I see us linked with players from the Bundesliga. You always worry a little bit. I mean, Werner, Havertz to a lesser extent, but still some extent. Sancho's not had a great season. And Kunku, phenomenal season. It can't be denied. I don't know. I'm not sure if this one excites me. I don't know if it's the right kind of profile or the right option to go for. Matt, excuse me. What are your thoughts on Nkunku? Do you think? I mean, is that a decent move for us to do?
Another one. I feel like this will be like another Kai Havertz in terms of. I feel like we'll be debating where his best position is all season.
Yeah.
I kind of think he's best from what I've seen playing almost as a false nine or kind of second striker, literally the same as Kai Havertz. So I don't know how those two work in a team. For me, Nkunku is like he's got technical ability. Like he's definitely better than Werner. Let's say he's got more natural. Like he just has natural ability. Like he's actually a footballer, unlike Werner. But um, yeah. So I mean, like he's got good shooting. His dribbling's decent. But again, like I don't think he's the quickest of players as well. So I do worry sometimes in the Premier League, like you've seen with Sancho, like I feel like if you're playing sort of as an inside forward, just in general in the Premier League in the attacking line, you need to have a lot of pace about you, um, or deceptive pace at least. I don't know. I just there's something not quite right about him. And again, the price is really really high. Like
Hmm.
Leipzig talking, I think like 70, 80 million. Like
Oh, fuck that.
yeah, it's ridiculous. Another one as well. Like I was say, Tuchel had him at PSG, right? Like
Hmm.
he left PSG, I'm pretty sure, because he didn't like the way Tuchel was using him. So what's that whole link about in the first place? Is Tuchel like, right, let's right some wrongs or whatever? I don't know. Like it's a weird one. Maybe he's just being linked because he's had a good season and every club in Europe's linked with him. But I mean, I do trust these Chelsea reporters. Like maybe I do think there's something in it, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to happen. I think like if you have Sterling and Dembele going on threes, potentially going on threes, you have other attackers, even less than Nkunku, and then you go and sign Nkunku, it's like we've not learnt our lesson.
Yeah.
So
No, for sure.
I don't know. It's just yeah, for me, there's a lot of cons to that transfer. Like I just think I don't know where his best position is and how he fits in our team. Essentially,
I mean, we don't want another problem like that. We've already got kind of enough players that we don't really know how they fit in. But I mean, obviously, if Lukaku leaves, which it looks like he's going to do, mate, do you think that means that he's going to be the only forward that leaves, or do we think we could see others to leave? I mean, I think for me, Timo Werner needs to leave. There's question marks over Hakim Ziyech. Do you think we could see more than one forward leave, or do you think it'll just be Lukaku and the others might stay the same? I mean, I hope that's not the case, but
I think Ziyech leaves.
yeah,
I do think Ziyech leaves. I can't see Ziyech staying. Another one where I'm like, he's played so little. Tuchel clearly
yeah,
like, if we're sticking to this three at the back, it's not really much use keeping Ziyech. Maybe you kind of use him as a Swiss Army knife, and he comes off the bench as a different option. But even still, later on in the season, he wasn't even. Like, I know he came on in the final game. Actually, he started the final game, didn't he? But in general, Tuchel doesn't seem to sub him on too much. It's kind of
no,
Pulisic and who's the other one that always comes on?
uh,
Lukaku or
yeah,
someone like that. So even Hudson-Odoi would usually come on. So yeah, I think he's so out of favour. And again, there's definitely been rumours. It's kind of Ziyech, Werner. We're open to listening to offers as well for Pulisic, but I think Pulisic is less likely. I do
yeah,
think Pulisic, again, like Pulisic came out and his quotes were kind of like, obviously I want to play more and stuff like that. So for me, it's like I think Pulisic gives it one more season and
yeah.
then he reviews it. Like if he's still not playing much next year, I think he's going to 100% push to leave. But I think he gives it one more season. I'm pretty set on that. But Ziyech, I can't see how he stays. I really can't. I think Chelsea will try and make maybe 25, 30 million off him. But again, I don't know who plays that. I think he's had rumours to AC Milan, which could potentially be interesting. I mean, we see
Yeah,
a lot of
maybe.
Chelsea, see a lot of former Chelsea players going there lately. So I mean, you've had like Bakayoko, Giroud, Tomori. So we've got a good relationship with them, and they're also getting an investment
The
takeover.
new,
So
new owners, yeah.
yeah, let's keep an eye on that one. But again, it's not as easy as you think getting rid of these players because there's just
Nah.
the reality is there's not too many teams that are going to be interested in our forwards. Because of the way they have performed for us. Imagine Ziyech was just a very very consistent player for Chelsea. There'd be loads of clubs on him, but
Yeah.
we've got players like even like Timo Werner, right? The only two options that we ever heard of really reliably were
Dortmund, wasn't it?
were Dortmund and potentially Bayern Munich. Obviously the Nagelsmann reunion, but again I think I saw that. Can't remember his name. The Bayern boss, who actually I think he's like CEO.
Oh, is it Uli
Um,
Hoeneß?
no, it's another one. It's like I
Oh,
think
It's not Oliver Kahn, is it? Or Sally? Oh, Sally
no.
Hamisic.
Yeah, Ovich or whatever.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
ends
Sally
with Ovich.
Hamisic. Yeah.
Yeah, him. So I've read that he doesn't really like Lukaku or Werner. He's unsure on them. So I'm not sure whether that happens. And then
Hmm.
Dortmund. I mean, Dortmund could happen, but they signed Adeyemi, and I don't know. I think who was it? I think Nazar said they don't want to pay his 272,000 wages.
No,
So
mate, no one would.
yeah, I mean that's half the problem. Again, Chelsea have is like when we sign players, you've got to offer them a shit ton of money to join because you want to attract them. That's just how it goes. But then if they flop and you're trying to resell them, it's one of the most painful things. Is we often have to cover half the wages or whatever.
Yeah.
We're doing that for so many players. We did it for Saul on loan. We covered half his wages.
Yeah, it's a joke, isn't it?
Lukaku again. The good thing with Lukaku is he's willing to take a wage cut to go back to Inter Milan. That's how
Yeah.
desperate he is, by the way. Which is another reason why I don't see him staying, because if he's that desperate that he's willing to, I think was it 100 and I think he's on
150 or something. You'd
100.
go
I
on.
think I think I tweeted it. I think he's on 325 at Chelsea, and I think he was going to go down to 125 to Inter. So that's
Yeah.
minus 200k. So I mean, does he need 325? No, but still,
No.
the footballers ever really reduce their wages? No. So he's desperate to leave.
Yeah, it's mad. I mean, yeah, there's definitely a lot of movement to be had in the forward line. Just briefly before we round out, midfield there needs to be some kind of reinvestment there, particularly a holding midfield player. For you, mate, is it very much now Declan Rice or bust? Seeing as we've fucked up the Tchouameni deal, looks like he's going to sign for Real Madrid. Or are there any other names linked with it? I'm not seeing that many. I think there's a Sanagra, I think he's called at PSV, maybe. Basuma is one that I think could be a smart signing that maybe we could potentially look at. But do you think it's Declan Rice or a lesser known, really?
It's a difficult one. I still don't know what's going to happen with the midfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously Jorginho and Kante are going to have talks. Conor Gallagher, people know my opinion on Conor Gallagher. I like him, but
I'm not sure he suits a pivot.
Yeah,
a
doesn't.
two-man midfield. I'd rather. I'm not saying he can't. I'm not saying he can't do it, but I would agree with you, mate. I would much rather see him play as a number 8 in a midfield 3 rather than in the middle of a 2. Because for me, like if he's playing in a pivot, is he really going to be any better than Ruben? No, he's not.
100%. Like the thing is as well though is when people say play like a 4-3-3, great. Well, who's your lone 6? Because when people say Declan Rice, right? Rice is good, but he's not like a lone 6 for me is someone that loves to pick up the ball, loves to have possession. Rice for me loves to win the tackles, loves to win the duels. He's not one that will, I don't see him picking the ball up, playing as the base, moving it side to side. That's not how I see him. I kind of see Rice as kind of the sitting DM in a pivot, and then maybe like I always said, like Rice and Kovacic, I think would be fantastic. I think that's such a great balance because you'd have Kovacic who is amazing going forward and is also good at tackling, coming back defensively. But then you would give Kovacic even more license to roam because Kovacic then doesn't have to worry so much about the transitions coming back as he does with Jorginho because Jorginho is just too slow on the transitions. It's fact. I like Jorginho, but we do need a proper DM. People saying Basuma's not that. I agree. Basuma's more of a box to box, but could Basuma be that? 100% he could because he's got the physical attributes and he's got the attributes to do that. He's very good on the ball. So I think he'd be a good one. Sangare, I'm not sure. Big risk. Big risk. Eredivisie. If you're bringing him in to be, our main DM, huge risk. Could go like Bakayoko or could go like Mendy first season. It could go amazing. It's one of those. Another big risk. So from what I've seen, he does look good, but for me, just from what I've seen, I've not seen loads, but he does seem a little bit slow on the ball. Kind of like Bakayoko vibes, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's obviously what we compare Bakayoko. We have to compare it to Bakayoko because that's all we've really seen in terms of a physical DM that's flopped and looked really good elsewhere. Because Bakayoko was a beast at Monaco. He was amazing on the ball. He rarely ever got dispossessed. But he comes to Chelsea, different league, different pace. He got put under pressure. He turned into an absolute nightmare. He was clumsy, lost the ball. Almost like you remember Saul's first game, right?
Oh, mate, it was awful.
Very, very good technical player, right? But as soon as he adapted or had to adapt to a different pressure, he got hooked at half time. Some players can do it, some players can't. So it's very, very risky if you sign Sangare and expect him to be holding down Chelsea's midfield. It's like that's why I think so many people want Rice because it's like you feel safer knowing that he's been in the Premier League. But at the same time, it's such a ridiculous amount of money and it goes against everything. I'm not saying Todd Bowley doesn't make statement signings. Like his Dodgers team have. They do spend a lot of money, but from everything we've been hearing, it's like they want to make smart signings. Spending £100 million on Rice is not a smart signing. It might look smart in 5 years, but it's not smart right now. You know what I mean? Like it's not. that would kind of go against everything that we've been fed in the whole takeover process. So would I like
Yeah.
Rice? Yeah, but I'm not screaming and shouting about it like everyone else seems to be honest.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'd definitely take him 100%. But mate, something about the Basuma deal, like if it's possible, I like it. I think it makes sense. We've got to be smarter in the market for me. You know, look at signing more players from within the Premier League, and I think Basuma is a great player. You know, he's been linked with top clubs in the past. I know he's been linked with obviously Arsenal before. I think he could play. He could do well for Chelsea, but again, it depends. Brighton would still want a lot of money for him. But it's definitely one that is interesting. Just lastly on defence, mate. Jules Koundé, I mean, it's not quite done yet. I don't know if he's still hanging about in London waiting, but that should go through hopefully soon at some point. Other names though, mate, are you hearing anything from another centre back that might come in? Because at the moment, obviously, okay, Koundé comes in, it's nearly done, not quite done yet. Mate, who else do you think we could be looking at? Because I know we've been linked with like Bremer from Torino, obviously Pau Torres in the past. Tuchel by all means likes Kimpembe, Gvardiol.
Yeah, those are the main.
Those are the main ones. Yeah, I mean Gvardiol's one that kind of transcends opinion on Twitter. You know, what was the point in signing a 20-year-old when we already got Levi Colwell here? Like, I mean, what do you think on the Gvardiol links? Tuchel obviously is a fan. Would that make sense? I'm a little bit skeptical in terms of maybe experience and the fact that he's 20 years of age. With the fact that we've lost Rudiger, we're going to lose Christensen, we're losing maybe Aspie as well, Alonso, whatever people think of him. There's still experience in the back line. I'm not sure if bringing a 20-year-old in is the right thing to do. I'd rather maybe have Koulibaly instead.
Spot on. Couldn't have said it any better. Put a tweet out on this last night, actually. I think last night. And I said, like, I'm all for Koundé, but he's young. He's going to make mistakes still in the Premier League. He's going to have to adapt because people are having a go at him for making a mistake for France. Lloris played a ball out last night to Koundé and he tried to chest it, but he lost balance. And then the Denmark player nicked the ball and then they ended up scoring, albeit it was like 20 seconds later. But people were like, oh, look, Koundé's rubbish. Look, he's made a mistake. I'm just like, Chelsea fans, like, they have such... like, these Chelsea fans go and look Koundé. I'm like, bro, like, everyone's been for Koundé, and this is probably like your first time ever watching him. He happens to make something that could be deemed as a mistake, not even an actual defensive mistake, really. Like, it's not like he passed the ball to the striker and they scored or something. Mate, they were going absolutely, they were losing their fucking marbles at him. Some of these accounts, and I was just thinking, like, fuck that. Fuck that. I don't want two young defenders. It's like, because me looking at the game, I can understand that if we bought Gvardiol and Koundé, I can go through those bad games or those, defensive mistakes, or maybe sometime they get caught out of position or something. I can go through that because I know that they are very, very good players overall. Gvardiol is a very good player. He's rated very highly. He's amazing on the ball. He's so good on the ball, by the way. You should watch some of his passing clips. Outrageous. So in that sense, good replacement for Rudiger. He's also one of the fastest players, I think, in the Bundesliga.
And he's versatile as well. He can play left back as well, I think.
Yeah, so 100%. He's a good player. Like, he's a very good player. Good talent. But for me, 100%, I want to replace Rudiger with someone like for like. Koulibaly's leaving or wants to leave. Please try and do that deal. He's a leader. He's been at the top of the game for years, albeit obviously not in the Premier League, but very experienced defender. He's played in the Champions League. He's played in big games, against Barcelona and things like that. So, he already has the connection again with Edouard Mendy. So you're thinking already dressing room. He has someone to settle in with. Like, it's a no-brainer, which means Chelsea aren't doing it, essentially.
mate, it's one of them ones, isn't it? Koulibaly, he's been linked with a move away for years and years and years. I think he's
Chelsea wanted him for years. Chelsea wanted this every single window, right? Cavani, Koulibaly, and Lewandowski. 3 players we've been linked with every window for years. Koulibaly might be going and on a free or whatever, or for like 20, 30 million.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden there's links to Pau Torres and Bremer. It's like, where's the fucking where's the sense? Where is like,
mate,
I don't get it. It's weird.
It's an interesting one. It's certainly, Koundé should be confirmed soon. And then obviously we need one more depending. One last player I wanted to ask you about, mate, in a fullback area. Obviously Ben Chilwell, great to see him get a couple of minutes against Watford at the end of the season. Still a long road to go on the recovery for him until we get anywhere near back his best form. An interesting one, Marc Cucurella from Brighton, done really well this season. again, that would be a smart signing, in my opinion. Probably means that Chelsea won't do it. But I mean, is that someone that interests you? I think it could be a really good signing to make.
Would be a really good signing, but like I had this debate the other day as well. I was like, I'm so torn on this position because
Mm.
if Ben Chilwell, and this is why I actually kind of back the club a little bit, and I'm kind of less sort of harsh on what they decide to do because I don't think anyone can know. Because if Ben Chilwell comes back and he's amazing, and you sign Cucurella, you've got Cucurella who's too good to be potentially on the bench. And it's like I know there's not Man City have amazing depth, but like you spent what's Cucurella going to be, what, 45, 40,
40 or
45 million?
45,
So
yeah.
so you spent all that money for a backup or something, right? Because Ben Chilwell, if he comes back to his best, is obviously going to be the starter because Tuchel loves him and obviously he's been great in our system and stuff. So then you're like, do we do that and take that risk and just have really good depth, or
Yeah.
do we? I don't know. Do you think Chilwell's going to be not as good, and then it makes more sense to buy Cucurella because then Chilwell can be the backup, be slowly eased in while Cucurella
Yeah.
starts? Do you then, if you think Chilwell's going to be really good, do you then go for a cheaper option, maybe like a Borna Sosa or a David Raum or something like that? These wing backs from the Bundesliga that we've been linked to, like, or do you just go with Emerson that's been linked as well?
I hope not.
Tuchel supposedly likes him. Emerson's come out, I think, 2 days ago and said he'd love to stay at Chelsea. So
Tuchel
I don't
likes
know.
Emerson. Tuchel likes Emerson so much that he sent him on loan and kept Alonso
Yeah,
instead.
I don't fully believe it, but
Yeah.
still, like, I don't really know. Like, for me, this is one where I'm not so clear cut. I'm kind of like, I'll back the club really, whatever they decide to do. As long as they don't keep Alonso, then I'm all good with what they do there.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me on it, like Chilwell obviously is the number one choice, but again, with the amount of games we're going to play, people are going to get injured. There's going to be suspensions. There's going to be rotation. We need almost like two first choice players in that position. I mean, ideally, we need to be signing a first choice anyway, because I don't think Chilwell is going to be, up to speed to necessarily start the season. And you look at Manchester City, etc., the depth they've got. I mean, their fullbacks, what, Kyle Walker,
I think as well.
Cancelo. I
Sorry
think
to
it
cut
just
you off,
makes
but
sense. Yeah, go on,
I
crack on,
think as
mate.
well, like the right-handed side position is almost even more of a debate because
We need that as
you
well.
you have you have Azpilicueta who, like, I'm so torn on this because he's like, I don't think he's very good anymore, but at the same time, I am worried that we're going to be losing too many big dressing room influences in one
Yeah,
year. So that's why I think either one of Aspi or Jorginho has to stay.
yeah.
Because we need some experience in there, for Christ's sake. Like, we can't just have. I know we've got Thiago Silva, but we need players that have been here for a few years. That,
Yeah,
like, we can't just get, like, change every position. Like, it's got to be some sort of do it over a
with some
number of windows.
structure to it.
So, like, even on the right hand side, if Azpilicueta leaves, what are you going to have? Dujon Sterling as the backup? Like, we need someone there
Yes,
as well. Like, Reece James gets injuries every season. He's
mate. We
usually out
need
for like a month a season. And what, you want to start Dujon Sterling every game? Like,
now. We need we
that
need
needs to be done, bro. Even maybe even more than the left wing back.
no. It does for sure. I mean, just lastly on this, mate. Are you disappointed that we missed out on Perisic?
Yes, very disappointed. I think that would have been a great signing for us. I
Yeah,
really, really do. I think he's a quality player. I think he's going to do very, very well for Spurs. I mean, I'm not surprised that he chose Spurs or whatever they're reporting. I mean,
yeah.
Chelsea couldn't really do much, but at the same time, like, they could have had a pre-agreement and wrapped it up after sanctions. But to be fair,
Yeah.
as soon as Spurs were interested, and I was like, well, they have Conte, so he's obviously going to go there. Like, he literally won the Scudetto together, so it's natural. I mean, all these Spurs fans saying he picked Spurs over Chelsea.
He
Well, no
didn't.
shit, mate. If he didn't
Yeah,
have Conte, he wouldn't have picked you. So, get over yourselves. But um,
yeah,
just as the reason why Dembele might choose Chelsea over PSG because Tuchel's here and he's one of his favourite
yeah,
era managers. So things like that happen. Look, De Jong again might go to Man United because of Ten Hag. You know what
yeah.
I mean? These things happen when former players reunite with former managers. So yeah, but it's a good signing. It would have been great depth for us for sure.
Yeah, no, 100%. I was disappointed to see us miss out. Again, it's a lot of money though. 33 years of age, but 175, 180k a week on a
Right,
two-year deal.
wages are ridiculous.
The
Some of
wages are mad.
these wages I've seen so far this window for the free agents, crazy. You look at Kamara, I think he's on 175 at Villa.
Yeah,
Perisic on the same at Spurs. I think they signed Diego Carlos Villa. I think he's on. I think I saw 180. I think.
I mean, these
So
are mad.
I mean, Villa are just they've got some money behind them clearly if they're offering these wages.
Mate, they've got a lot of money, but yeah, I know there's definitely a lot more business to be done. I mean, obviously Chelsea got a lot to do. Hopefully, and this week's been quite quiet apart from the Lukaku saga. Hopefully, next week things might speed up a little bit. We might get some more news. Maybe Koundé, maybe Dembele. Who knows? But it seems like a good point to round out. Pies, thanks so much for your time, bro. Appreciate it as always. Always great to chat all things Chelsea with you guys. Make sure you smash a like on the stream and please do subscribe. If you're tuning in now, you're not subscribed. Make sure you click the subscribe button. Almost at 500 now. I think it's about 7 or 8 more. So if you're not subscribed and you're watching now, well, there's 20, 30 odd of you in here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Get me 8 more subs. Hit the 500 mark, and we can and it'll be happy days, mate. Thanks so much, guys. Check out Pice on Twitter and his website Chelsea365. I've linked them both in the description. So go and check those out. Some great stuff on there. Thanks for tuning in and getting involved in the chat. And I'll catch you next week with some more content. So until then, take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Nice one, guys.